Hi, dear all. This is Shashank Gupta. Once again at iQuanta platform, I've come today to talk to you about the necessity of vocabulary for Clat papers, right? Okay. So the thing is that is good vocabulary important for Clat? So first thing first, what does it mean? Good vocabulary, the kind of vocabulary we use every day? No, no. We are talking about better vocabulary, right? How better is it? So let's see. Let's have a first hand experience of how the Clat vocabulary looks like. Okay. The conundrum of his obfuscation rendered the argument incomprehensible. If you ask me, the sentence itself is incomprehensible. Her perspicacious yet abstruse elucidation left the audience in a state of cognitive dissonance. What were they thinking? What are they writing out there? Next, the intransigence of his interlocutors rendered the dialectical exchange futile. I could understand his interlocutors, I could make out a bit. Rendered, I know. The dialectical exchange, okay. Dialect, of course, that would also work for me. Futile is something I know. In intransigence, okay, what does that mean? Okay, so plenty of things, right? You see how these vocabulary can actually hinder our success, right? D part, his predilection for grandiloquence obfuscated the core tenets of his argument. I can have umpteenth number of such sentences, but you understand that this is not going to work for us. Why? Because for whenever we are going across for CLAT kind of an exam, we must understand that your reading skills, your vocabulary skills have to be the top priority, right? Let's move on. Let's see what else do we have today. Where does vocabulary matter? How does it matter for us for CLAT? Many of us would say, sir, they do not ask those questions, right? Those direct synonym, antonym questions. Then why do we have to learn all these things? Where does vocabulary matter? The first part is reading comprehension. To understand, to interpret the paragraph or the passage, it is important that you have to know those tough words in passage. And CLAT is again because it is going through a passage of all those legalities and things of that sort, going across for law kind of a thing. So law people, of course, you know that the kind of jargons, the terminologies that they use, they are quite heavy, right? They're very deep. On the other hand, we have got synonyms and antonyms, finding similar or opposite words. Of course, it can be from the RC itself, right? And lastly, the inference based questions. Just think of it, friends. When you are not able, when you cannot understand the reading comprehension itself, how would you go across and do the questions which are based on inferences, right? So, which means that vocabulary does matter when you're going across for CLAT kind of a paper, right? Weak vocabulary can cost you marks. As easy as that. Fine. Sentence says the professor's lecture was full of esoteric references that confused the students. Okay. So some of us would actually get stuck out here, first part. The second thing is going to be that many of us are actually going to be like they can actually make out what esoteric might mean, right? So a part of smart guessing, you can say, or you are just contextually, you're trying to find the meaning of the word, right? Definitely works, definitely works. But then let's go down and let's see what are the options given across. So they said like, what is the meaning of this word esoteric? What does esoteric mean out here? Okay. So I go across and I see the first word is abstruse. The second one is jocular. C is inciting. I still understand a bit of inciting. D, ludicrous. How did it work? Which means, coming back to the point I'm trying to make out here, is that we just have to understand the word out here will not work, right? We also have to understand the other options that are given across to us. We also have to understand them. which means not only the passage given, even the question given, even the theme related, inference based, any kind of question is there. If you don't understand the question itself, how would you answer, right? So that's why vocabulary holistically is going to help to understand or to crack a paper like Clat, right? Let's try this. Now I'm going to give you the meanings out here. Abstruse means difficult to understand. Jocular means something which is humorous. Inciting means provocative. And ludicrous means something which is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Ludicrous, ridiculous, right? It's a tongue twister, I believe. Okay, fine. So, ludicrous, ridiculous. So, all of them, A, B, C, D, they all are working towards what? They are talking about something that might be used as the answer for esoteric. What do you think would be the answer? Of course, now you can easily make it out. The professor's lecture was full of esoteric references that confused the students. So it confused them. Which part cannot be the answer? It cannot be humorous, it cannot be provocative, or it cannot be ridiculous. The best answer goes out here is something which is abstruse. What is abstruse? Oh, God. Let me just see. Yeah. So this part is your right answer. Some problem out there. Okay. Abstruse is the right answer. Why? Because it means difficult to understand. Because it was difficult to understand, that's why it confused the students. Easy, right? So we need to work upon vocabulary, as I said. Let's have something more. Whenever we are going to talk about Clat-centric papers, few things that you have to work upon. The first part is confusing words. Confusing word as in affect versus effect, eminent versus imminent, right? And so on, right? There's a huge list of that. Tricky synonyms. Tricky synonyms means obdurate means stubborn, perfunctory means superficial, right? So these are quite tricky. Why? Because I don't generally use the word obdurate, right? Then how would I actually make it out when it is present in the RC, right? So that's why we have to learn these heavy words so that we can always be ready for a Clat paper. Contextual word changes. How? Now, this is a very favorite of mine. Why? Because I believe that language is quite liquid, right? Which means what? Its meaning is quite liquid. It can change itself, right? So, like we have got the word fast out here. Fast can have a meaning which means quick or quickly, or it can also mean something, I'm on a fast today, which means not eating. I'm not eating anything, right? So, which means fast itself can have so many meanings and it can change as per your given text. So that's why this is called as contextual word meaning, right? Which you have to work upon. Next part to it, what do we have? The first thing first, which is the priority, which is something we have to do. What is that? First, learn root words. Now that you have learned DICT, okay? So when you heard of DICT, any point of time, you would always remember that it would mean something to do with word, conversation, conversation, right? Or some kind of expression. Word, conversation, or expression. Now, if we have a word like maledict, benedict, solidict, circumdict, and so on, right? What would happen? It would become easier for you to learn them. Why? Because you already know the words. Dict. Dict means what? To talk about something, maybe the word or the conversation or the expression. What is written before that? That is male or mal. Mal means what? Something which is bad, right? You must have heard of words like malpractice, malfunction, right? So mal is something which is always going to talk about negative, right? So what kind of words are these? These are negative words, bad words, right? Or it can be a bad conversation, like you're having some kind of you're trying to humiliate the person in front of you, so you're maledicting, right? Then what is there? Expressions. When you're cursing someone, so you're using malediction for him. Benedict, bene, what does that mean? Benefit, right? Benefactor, beneficent, which means bene will always talk about something which is positive. So Benedict would talk about what? Something that it is going to be good. So when I'm using benediction for someone, I'm actually praising the person, right? So this is one way of learning the words, right? The other way is try mnemonics. Mnemonics, what does it mean? You relate it to something, right? It can be a graphical representation, or it can be some kind of, you can say, you can use your Desi language, right? Your mother tongue, and you can associate it with something, and then you can try to make it out. Like I use like lassitude, I actually make it as reality. In reality, it is lassi and tude, right? Just a way to learn, right? Tude, I understand attitude. It's talking about some kind of behavior, right? And lassi is basically something that you drink, right? Okay. So maybe in the morning, right? Right in the morning, you have taken this heavy glass of lassi with all the butter and the curd, and it's sweet with dry fruits and everything. Just think of it. What would happen? You would be energetic or you would be lazy. So, of course, you would become lazy. You would feel sleepy. So, always remember, whenever we are talking about lassitude, we are actually talking about something to do with laziness. See, you would never forget it, right? Next, context clues. Context clues. Unlike his garrulous sister, Raj is quite reserved and quiet. So when I look at this sentence, there are few things that is working for me, right? The first part of it is talking about unlike, which means whatever is happening about the sister is going to be quite opposite to what is about Raj. So how is Raj? Raj is quite reserved and quiet. So he does not talk much. And unlike the brother, the sister is garrulous, which means automatically I can actually make it out that she is quite, she's quite talkative. She talks a lot. Fine. And that is how we understand that contextual clues are one of the most important part when you are doing a Clat passage, when you're reading a Clat passage. Fine. So keeping that in mind, we'll meet again as soon as possible with more new hacks and tricks so that that can help you, right? Thank you very much.